Greetings and salutations. It is 11:58 on September 25th, and I'm 2 minutes away from the end of the day. There's no way I'm going to finish before the day, but I'm still going to try to start before the day's ended. I'm going to talk about SDG 13, 14, and 15 of my challenge. Way to go. 13, climate action, which says take urgent action to combat climate change and its impact. SDG 14, which is about life below water or the ocean, which asks us to conserve and sustainably use the ocean, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. And SDG 15, life on land, protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, and halt and reverse land degradation and halt biodiversity loss. You understand why some people say we will never meet these goals. It sounds like a lot of hodgepodge. Unless you're one of those people that are fully embedded. And trust me, there is a beehive of people working on each of these goals. And the reason why I've clumped them together, because in fact, these are not separate goals. These are all interwoven issues. You cannot have life on land unless you are dealing with the ocean, and you cannot have a clean ocean if you're not taking care of life on land. It's a symbiotic relationship, but because our human minds can't process all of that, we have got to break them down into these silos. So there are lots of targets. For example, with climate change, the big one, we have COP Glasgow coming up soon. Five big targets. We got to strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity. We've got to talk about making sure we have dealt with climate change measures, are properly put into policies and planning, build knowledge and capacity to meet the climate change, and finally implement. I mean, there is a lot of challenge. We are doing a lot of talking everywhere, even at small islands, but how do we implement? I have to say that Local 2030 Network is doing a great job, as is the new network form of American Islands, and they are dealing with really trying to learn from what Hawaii and Guam are doing. And Hawaii and Guam, they are an excellent example of what us in the small island women states have to do. I am really big on oceans, and personally speaking, I could talk about oceans forever, but I won't. Safe enough to say that I am critically concerned about the Caribbean Sea, and I must also say a new group is being formed called Ocean in the Caribbean. I can't remember the exact acronym, but they're just being formed. We're just forming. And it's a group of us that are just concerned that we're not working together. So I'm excited to see what the collaboration might bring. So when it comes to the Caribbean Sea and all oceans, we've got to protect and restore ecosystems. We all know about overfishing. So we've got to move to sustainable fishing. We've got to reduce ocean acidification, coastal marine areas. We're talking about sea level rise, where we have to do mangrove forestry. All the subsidies that contribute to overfishing, those have to be done away with. And we have to ensure that people understand what is sustainable use of marine resources really mean. That means we have to increase knowledge, research, and technology for the health of the oceans. Let me tell you, if the oceans die, so do we. Kaput, dead. The ocean are the lungs of the earth, and we humans cannot survive without the ecosystem benefits that the oceans give us. And so we've got to support the smallest fisher folk and ensure that the big fishing companies do their part in not running amok, which is why international sea law, implement and enforce. Listen, Jamaica is the headquarters of the law of the sea, and most of it is just in abeyance. Most people don't even know there's a law of the sea, right? And so we got to do a lot more, as we said, education and training from high school level, from even middle school level, if even elementary school level. Young people now have to understand what is at stake, because I'm telling you, they don't have 60 years to fix this. So they have to be learning now. So by the time they get their first job at 2021, they're on it and they can actually be in it to win it. As for SDG 15, if we're talking about life on land, we need water. So that ties back to the SDG and water. We have to conserve our freshwater ecosystems and our ensure we conserve and protect our wetlands that feed our water systems. We have to stop chopping up the mountains and use my lady from Australia's green ceramics. We have to end deforestation, which means we've got to support ways in which we can do clean cook stoves. So you see how everything is intertwined. You can't do one without the other. And this is what the Smart Futures framework is about, helping us understand that yes, we might have 17 separate goals, but they're really one big goal with 17 tracks, and each of us can pick a track in which to run, but we're running in the same race, which is the campaign to save the human race. We really need to do something. So we're going to have to end desertification, try to restore degraded land, and you say, this is not possible. Why would we say it's not possible when we have people living up in space where there's no oxygen, where there's no water? So use the time we can send people to space. We can think about moving to the Mars and the moon, but we can't end desertification. Seriously, folks, we have to do a job on our minds. This can be done if a bunch of us get together. 10% of us get together and decide that it's a matter of life and death. And guess what? It's not really a decision per se, because it is a matter of life and death. We've got to protect all those species that have been poached and trafficked to get flora, fauna, the beautiful parrots, the beautiful snakes. I don't really like snakes, but you know what I mean. They're beautiful to other people, but they're beautiful also in the forest where they belong. Love it to look at from afar. We don't need to see you wearing it around your neck. No, 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 no. That is not what a snake is for. Okay? Let the snake live in its habitat. We have to promote access to genetic resources and fair sharing of the benefits. In that case, not just promote access, we have to make sure we take care of the genetic assets we have, genetic resources, and we do not fool around with them in such a way as to create invasive new alien species, monsters and Frankenstein in our labs, because we want to try to see how godlike we can become. We've got to tamper down our homogeneous proclivities and try and look towards being more homo guardians, if you will. And so these are some of the things that are critical to our successful moving forward in SDG 13, 14, and 15. So the question is there any hope? I think there's hope. There is a song by one of my favorite reggae artists, Steel Pulse, and some of the lyrics, and I paraphrase, go, "These times of science and technology, the world is an unconscious laboratory. On a wild goose chase, laws of nature they just can't face. Ambition is to mash up the place. Tell me, who shall save the human race? Who shall save the human race?" Now, if you hear that song, look it up. It's called Wild Goose Chase, Steel Pulse. Listen to that song and see if it doesn't get you thinking. So for me, the Seeds of Hope, I found two I really want to big up. There are many more, but these two I think really stood out for me. World Resources Institute, I think, is a great example of a potential Smart Futures collaboratory. They need to do some more work in terms of getting the word out and democratizing to more people. In other words, scaling not up, but scaling out to more people. But their basic thing is to count it, change it, and scale it. So they work a lot with data, and they're really pushing out projects in cities, in countries, in regions, and their projects are vast and wide. So they work on things from food waste to initiatives that advance climate change to those that do sustainable ocean economy. So it's really a broad range of things, which I like. The reason why I like it is because it means that if they're doing it well, and hopefully they are, each of the different, let's say, employees or networking groups within the organization are also exchanging information and allowing that exchange to move and create new opportunities, new innovations to address this as a systemic whole. And so I sincerely hope that they read the book Smart Futures for a Flourishing World and see what they might borrow from the ideas I put in there about asking 5 smart questions about the future. They've got a Food and Land Use Coalition. There's a platform and circular economy. Really a very good example. In fact, now that I've looked at them, I can say one of my ideas for having a lab, they could take one of my ideas and run a lab, because they already have the basis of what it takes to get started. This is not about trying to be the only and the first. This is about us partnering, which is goal number 17 I'll talk about tomorrow. Very quickly to wrap up, Beyond World Resource Institute, I want to big up and say in Jamaica, give enough respect to Earth Guardians. They represent thousands of young activists, and I'm ecstatic that they exist. They're dealing with artists, musicians, Earth Guardians. Please come to the Caribbean. We need you. Because guess what? They're working with this intergenerational group of people. I'm not too old to join. I'll join. I'm ready to go. And they're doing art, music, storytelling on the ground, civic engagement, and more importantly, legal action. Legal action. Legal action. That is what we need in the small island development states. We are very weak in the area of legal action against companies and governments that are doing wrong by the future of the earth. Pachamama is very upset. Mother Earth needs us. We need Earth Guardian Caribbean. We need Earth Guardian Small Island Developing States. And I see they have lots of chapters all over the place, but I don't think they have any in the Caribbean. So we have got to make it happen. Let me just end by saying, Buckminster Fuller said that we are not going to be able to operate our spaceship Earth successfully, nor for much longer, unless we see it as a whole spaceship and our fate as common. It has to be everybody or nobody. In other words, on Spaceship Earth, there are no passengers. We're all crew. So let us do what we've got to do. Over and out, Ubuntu, and even them over time, I had to deal with 3 topics. So I took 10 minutes? That's not too bad, is it? All the best. Ubuntu.